Good morning. Welcome back to Raise Day 2. We're so excited to have you. And how many of you have been to another conference in the last 12 months? Almost everybody in the room. I love going to conferences because it's a great way to meet other people, get new ideas, and bring things back. But I think sometimes the hardest thing is actually to bring something back and put it into action. You can bring a great idea. We heard tons of stuff, inspiration, ideas, new tricks, tactics, things that we can copy and steal yesterday. But we're all going back to our institutions on Monday. And if we don't do anything different, then there was no reason being here. I mean, it's great to party. We party. But if you don't do something when you get back, then you did not get your money's worth. And we want to make sure that you get your money's worth. And so I'm really excited to bring the crew from K-State on stage. They were here at Raise last year, heard some great ideas, and put them into action. And they're going to talk about how they did that. So round of applause for the crew from K-State. Says that he gets out of bed every morning with the help of Lil John.
Little John. Coffee and Little John. That's how I start every day.
I'm just going to have us go straight down the line. Introduce yourself, your role, and your favorite Starbucks order.
Oh, goodness.
That seems appropriate for 9 a.m. this morning.
Hi, I'm Sarah Prince. I'm the Senior Director of Strategic Solicitations, and I guess I'm a standard caramel macchiato.
I'm Julie Craig. I lead our prospect analytics and research team. And I'd have to say at Starbucks, my favorite thing are cake pops.
My name is Susan Burhow. I'm AVP for Strategic Communications, and my favorite order is a large iced coffee with almond milk.
Eric Holderness, Associate Vice President of Development, and I would say an Americano Royale.
What is an Americano Royale?
It's just a lot of caffeine and as little liquid as possible. So yeah.
Awesome. I'm Mike, and I'm a cold brew. So tell us a little bit about, you were at Raise 2018, and then you heard some stuff, and then you're in the airport on the way back. Set the scene for us.
Absolutely. So last year was Sarah, Eric, and I's first Raise conference, and we were just so inspired. I mean, as you guys know, how about this conference? Just one more round of applause, guys. This is an amazing conference. And we knew we had to do something, right? All these ideas. We heard Mike last year from G20 Ventures talking about, don't talk to the me that was in college, talk to the me today. UConn was up here talking about how they've completely overhauled their structure so that communications and annual fund could work together. And we knew we couldn't do that, but something had to happen. And so 3 K-Staters walk into the Admirals Club at the Boston airport, full of great ideas. We actually had tons and tons of notes that we went through, but then it took us locking ourselves in a conference room for a few hours and whiteboarding like crazy to figure out what we were going to do, and then we coined it. And that was the start. Engagement by design.
Yes, well, I wasn't at Raise last year, but these folks came back with so many ideas and so much excitement, and I thought, gosh, I better go next year and supervise them. Who knows? But
It didn't work, by the way.
But yeah, it was really, really exciting to hear some of the really progressive ideas coming out of Raise and being brought back to the foundation. And as leader in communication, I somewhat coincidentally was starting to feel like our model of collaboration as a communications team was feeling a bit dated. I know a lot of you probably work with communications team at your institutions, and just like folks probably at your institution, we would describe ourselves as an in-house agency, and we're here to help our development professionals meet their goals. But the problem with that model is that, that actually puts our colleagues at a little bit of a distance, and their goals really should be our goals. So I was kind of hungry for a way to bring things closer together, to be able to sit next to each other, arm in arm, and work toward a common goal. And they came back with some great ideas.
So you formed a committee, you called it Engagement by Design, and what was the goal of putting that committee together?
So when we got back, we really put our heads together about who all of the functional partners needed to be at the table. And we came together with strategic solicitations, which is our annual fund program, our communications teammates, our gift planning team, which tends to be a little bit on an island of their own in their own work. We had stewardship, and we brought in, we identified those people that needed to sit in the room together more and digest each other's work a little bit differently and think about how they could really get in each other's wake rather than working in the silos that we had become accustomed to doing. We were very intentional about the meeting structure. We brought these team members together 2-3 times for a large meeting, and we really sat and thought about what are some of our aspirational goals, what are examples of things that are going on in industries that aren't fundraising mostly that we would want to aspire to come together. It was going to take us all to be able to accomplish some of the things that we were seeing out in mass marketing and media. And so I think it was about 3 meetings that we really digested a lot of aspirational and cool things. Wouldn't it be awesome if we could do this? Until we said, okay, now we've sat together several times. It's time to really tune in on what our purpose is and design a mission.
Yeah, and we were actually talking a little bit earlier. So of course everyone saw John's presentation yesterday, and I think there was role clarity envy in our organization where people really wanted to know how it is they could help, right? So major gift officers, what is it? Who knows? What are the 3 jobs? What are they? Love it, yeah. Get visits, be on visits, and follow up on visits. Well, we really needed something for those departments that are represented on the screen here to have the same sort of purpose, right? So we all wanted to raise $200 million a year, but how could you help? And so we rolled out a mission statement after those original 3 meetings, which quite frankly was a slow burn. Like we had people in that room that wondered, why is it we're here? So it was really cool though in that 4th meeting to roll out that we are here to enrich every engagement opportunity to move people on the right side of the donor commitment continuum, right? So I think we saw it yesterday, it's advocates, right? That's what we wanted. We call it ownership, but everyone in that building, everyone on this screen, and even more so, are committed to every interaction being better, being best, frankly, and moving people and helping them be K-Staters, but more than that, right? So investors in K-State.
Yeah. So just, as somebody, sitting in the audience and thinking about like, okay, I've heard some great ideas. This is a great screenshot to take and think about like, okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to try to get folks from these other departments in to start just talking about like, okay, here's some great ideas, here's some things that we're experiencing on a day-to-day basis with the companies and organizations that are talking to us, and how can we replicate that? If you're someone like Kyle and you're a one-person shop, you may have to sit at a table and just like move around a little bit and like check, okay, my prospect research hat and my like communications hat and figure out like how that works. But like, these are the types of folks, now coming full circle to our first panel, like, it's about getting together and having a meal or coffee and talking about like what we could do. Did this go like absolutely smoothly and everyone was like totally bought in from day one, or like how do you obtain buy-in?
That's a great question. I wouldn't say everybody from day one was 100% bought in. I mean, that hardly ever happens that way. I think there was a lot of support, like a lot of organizations, we're encouraged to take risks, we're encouraged to try new things. And while people were supportive, I think there were questions, but over time we kind of went on a journey together and clarified that. And even with our leadership team, I think people were supportive, but kind of maybe at first watching to see what would happen. I think they've been really impressed with some of the results we've been able to bring.
And as you get buy-in, talk about just like what happens as it spreads across the organization. Like what starts to change and And so you have a mission statement, but like, how do you put that into action?
Well, it's amazing when you get everybody in the room, you start to learn more about what they're doing, and suddenly either we're doing the same thing or we all need the same thing, but we didn't know it because we were all working in silos. That collective knowledge becomes a force, right? We're able to get tools that any single department would not have been able to do, and make us all a little bit more efficient, not duplicate each other's work, and be a lot more creative with that extra time we free up. Tools like marketing automation, social listening, all the things that we've needed, but if any one team had it, we wouldn't have been nearly as effective as what we are now.
Yeah, and I think it's beyond that, right? It's so we do have tools, vendors, things that we've brought on board, but it's people. So we've been able to actually leverage our organization based on this structure to add those digital development officers that we talked about, right? That's a two-person force that they literally live in every piece of this. And then, there's also the fact that we had a case intern a couple of years now, but this particular year was just solely dedicated on finding out who's doing things right and how it is we can apply that here. So I think the buying force is important, but it's also the adding force that it is that we've been able to do. And organizationally, it's of envy, right? So engagement by design is something that we've all aspired to do. And then when you're able to add more people behind it, it's been pretty special.
Yeah, and I think my next slide here is like, we talked about in the prep for this, like it leads towards shared goals. And so as a team, you have, like each individual unit has their own goals, but they're all tied to a larger goal. And so what does that look like?
So organization-wide, we have a goal this year for Engagement by Design to get 45,000 donors. That's about 1,000 more than the year before. And that's an organizational goal, but also each member of Engagement by Design has a personal goal with that metric attached to it, and we're all going to be working together to achieve that. It's the first time the communications team has had such a specific goal lined up with our development colleagues. I'm really, really excited about that. We're in our staff meeting every week looking at where we are on our thermometer toward that goal, and are we ahead of pace, are we not? And it's been really invigorating for the communications team. And we have a tradition, of course, of always working together to our overall goal, but that specificity has been very powerful.
Yeah, if you think about like how you build your funnel, like if marketing communications always leads to strategic communications that then PAR can analyze and pass to the front line, like that's how the funnel works. And it can be one person, doing that, through, creating some content, putting it out there and following up, or it can be an organization-wide team, which is really cool. So, get back, you get buy-in, you get a mission statement. What do you start working on? What are some of the wins?
So I would say our all-in giving day. We went into the year thinking, this might be the year that we want to try to pull off a giving day. But quite honestly, the hard work going into and the planning, we really only took about 6 months to move into executing all in. And it really did take a village of us all to come together and have a shared vision for that. I don't think we could have accomplished in such a short time what we did with All In raising over $300,000 in a day, securing corporate sponsors, major donors, and over 1,400 gifts that day. We wouldn't have done it had we not done it together. And it was the conversations and the shared ownership of that. To hear Susan and to have teammates in communications or on our stewardship team who watch the donor count. They come to work and they check a dashboard that's related to development. That's huge for us because they're thinking about it every day.
Can you talk a little bit like what role each of your teams played in putting on the All In for K-State?
Sure. So strategic solicitations, which formerly annual giving, we were, helping to facilitate the application process and find the fundable idea. We have kind of similar to a grant submission process where we bring in a committee of campus partners. We have a representative from the Alumni Association, from athletics, from faculty senate, from student government, and we bring them together and help. With their help, we select that fundable idea, and then we facilitate anything solicitation related.
In prospect analytics and research, obviously, we wanted to look at the data. And so we couldn't wait to see how many new donors we had and how many people maybe were lapsed donors but gave because they cared about the cause. It was really a fun investigation to get to go see how the heartstring of All In with Cat's Cupboard really brought a lot of people into our light. And now we can have conversations with them, not just about that, but what their real passions for philanthropy are.
On the communications team, we were really excited to be working on All In because it was a chance to stand up a whole new identity around giving. So we were really challenged to help tell the story of what All In for K-State is, that this was a one day, one cause kind of campaign, and spread awareness with our alumni base about that and prime them for the reveal of what our cause was, which was Cat's Cupboard, our food pantry on campus. So we supported the effort all the way through with communication strategies, from helping with web development to social media, some emails in the beginning. So we had a great time putting it together with this team.
I was just head cheerleader. And that's true. I sold it once, and John commented that it was brilliant and then also could fail miserably. But, it was great.
51%?
Yeah, the 51,
yeah.
I'm glad he gave me that. It was 60-40. He was fibbing. But, it was, that's what I did, right? And when you're doing something new, that's what it takes, right? Is that everybody, so it's showing up in someone's office and just saying, how's it going? How's it look? You feel good? Those are things that you have to do when something is just that in its infancy. So, that's what I was. I was just a head cheerleader, and I loved that job. So,
no, that's awesome. I think all this coming together and working together has also led to like some other projects. So there's another like committee. I don't like the word committee, but another group, a one voice group that meets regularly, and this is a really cool concept.
So one of the outgrowths of EVD has been a standing meeting that we have at KSU Foundation every week, Mondays. It's a 30-minute meeting. It has about 15 people in it, and it is all the folks who work at KSU Foundation, whose fingers are on the keyboards, creating content and pushing out content, whether that be social media, email, text, all sorts of communications avenues that we have, direct mail. They get together 30 minutes. It's round robin. Everybody shares what's coming up for them this week. We share our plans. It's a very quick meeting. It's very tactical. But what I love about it is it's making sure that everybody is communicating on a daily basis. But I love that after the meeting's over, usually people are still in the room afterwards talking about something they'd heard or a new connection or a new way to work together. It's really great for our culture of collaboration.
Yeah, I think in the podcast session yesterday, I'm going to get the stats wrong, but I think Mark from Oregon State said that something like 50% of all database conversions and 60% of all like new technology adoptions fail. Change is hard. Like change management is really, really difficult, but it makes it a lot easier when you know like who's on the other side of the room. When you have a cheerleader who's willing to cheerlead and do that, but when you also have like people just getting together, understanding that, hey, we're working on similar projects, we're working on things that can help each other out, and then leveraging that, celebrating the wins, and working together towards a shared goal.
Absolutely. And there have been some other successes too. Like for instance, I want to shout out to Mary Bourne, our very talented video production manager at KSU Foundation. Her team had the great idea of putting together backpacks that had tools for our different partners across the organization who participate in social media specifically, to be able to go out on the road and have some really high quality equipment to do what I call best in genre authentic video capture. So there's a stabilizer, there's a mic system that helps them have great audio, and it's really able to empower other people to be able to go out and feel confident about creating content. And it's a way that as a one voice group, we've been able to really extend our collaboration.
But isn't making video really hard?
Well, yes, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
And I think if you can find a way to do simple video in a quality way and make it easy for people, it can be really powerful.
I mean, think about all the great stories that as fundraisers or stewardship people, like you get to hear or present, and I mean, I'm sitting in the back of the room, and like we have a great crew here listening to this conference, but like not everyone can be in Boston in the middle of September. So like, how do we spread those stories out? And video is a great way to do it. And if you're giving people a backpack they can take, pull out a camera, a mic. I know Brent is getting that idea for the podcast to go on the road. So we're going to have our own EverTrue backpack video setup. Announced it here, and now my marketing team is shaking their head at me. But yeah, like anyone can do it, and
Yeah.
you put the power of storytelling into the hands of folks.
And I should clarify, what we don't give people actually is the camera. We actually let them use their phones to be able to do that, so they can have that ease of being able to upload that content where they need to, and they don't need a video professional to necessarily help them download it and get it to the right platform.
Great stuff. Great
Yeah.
stuff. And then this also led to experimenting with digital development officers. Not even experiment, but launching a digital development officer program, which we touched on a little bit yesterday. But what does that look like? How'd you start? And what are the early successes, and where's it going?
Yeah, the digital development officers really that vision to have some key staff members who really filled some gaps that we were identifying as we got into some of this work. We recognized there were some dead ends or some places where we needed a mature staff member who was versed in the same language, had the same training as our development officers, that could manage phone calls, manage digital outreach. They would monitor social media and really take some approaches that really the rest of us, we might have that great idea, but we never get around to. And they're some of the biggest users of the backpack. These young women, young professionals, they will go over on campus and create a virtual tour and reach out to people who haven't been back to campus for a while. Or we did a back to school campaign where they were looking at how do we reconnect people who love that feeling of coming back to K-State every fall, and the sounds, the smells, all of it, and video played a big part in that. They're also very powerful in having the right connection when even just a phone call comes in. They've been able to field calls that have led to conversations and lead generation that are handed off to our development officers and have resulted in multi-million-dollar agreements. So, I mean, their work is huge, and they're able to look at some of the intricacies that we all just really don't get around to with best intentions.
Yeah, like the HubSpot session yesterday, it was like looking at your funnel and figuring out where are the points of friction, like where are we losing leads, and then a solution might be to have somebody focused on like that missing middle of the pyramid, who's raising their hand, showing potential. What are some of the things that you're looking for when you're trying to, what those DDOs are looking for when they're trying to make their calls or make their emails? Who are they targeting?
Yeah, so they do a couple of things. The first of which is actually they serve as donor concierge. So we actually use that word. They have embraced it. It is that they are the front desk for the development department. So if someone calls our shop, they want to make a gift, they are the first person that they hear from. They are, again, well-versed in what it is that it means to make a gift, but they're inquisitive in the same way that you might be on a visit. They ask why. What is it that you want to do here? Why do you give and we've developed a lot of leads. They have their own, we talked about it a little bit yesterday, they have their own individual social media pages that are their professional, it's their headshot, and they engage folks. Literally, if there's a conversation going on about how I'm so excited to send my kid to the College of Business, this is just a beautiful building, right? It's like, oh yeah, by the way, there's namespaces available, right? Like that's what we're doing. We're interacting with people where they're at. And yeah, so yeah, we've got a couple of $1 million coming in because of it. So, it's the DDOs has been really cool because we've had the ability to no longer say, well, I don't have time. Now we have people, right? And again, that's engagement by design at work because the buying force.
Yeah. So reactively answering the phone, listening for signals, but then also proactive outreach, like using EverTrue to like look through like, okay, who are our most engaged people with potential, maybe that have been rated by PIR but not picked up by somebody else?
One of the coolest projects actually using EverTrue is the ability to look through our interactions, right? Yeah. So we had Pat Bosco, who's been there for 50 years. He is K-State, and so we have a family match that was associated with he and his family. So we had the ability to actually mine our data to say, who is it that in a visit has said, I love Pat Bosco is the reason I'm at Kansas State. And we were able to reach out to them and say, look, this is an opportunity not just to establish your legacy, but honor his. And it was amazing, right? So our ability to talk to the people where they're at and what they cared about, yeah. So EverTrue definitely helped us do that. And they are probably our biggest users. And to be quite frank, we had EverTrue, this very powerful tool that was laying dormant. And then we had to say, we have to have people using technology, right? That was the biggest thing for me from Raise last year. Is like, yes, this is gorgeous and it looks great, but you have to have those people that are willing to, and they don't know any better, which is the best part. But we threw them in there and they love it and they're super good at it. So
yeah, that's awesome. We got a few minutes of questions, so I'm gonna ask you all. I don't know who's running around the microphone since I'm sitting here, so we might have to shout. But we're gonna put out a call for questions in just a couple seconds. But I know, you've had a lot of questions already. Like, what's the best question somebody has asked you at Raise so far?
Is John like that every day? The answer is yes, by the way. That's it.
All right. Questions for the K-State team? I know it's early, but I know you have them. Lynn, down front.
Yeah. What role does donor relations play in this engagement by design, and what kind of new initiatives have been put in place for donor relations and stewardship?
Great. I'm going to repeat the question for camera, but what role does stewardship and donor relations play in engagement by design?
A lot. So as you could see, actually, if you would go to the funnel, right? So everywhere, but they've been. So we produced the impact report, is what we called it, for All In. But they are using EverTrue in the same way that we are for solicitations to say thank you, right? So we're meeting people where they're at. So they're really innovative. But the coolest thing about, I think, lately was this impact report that we sent out, and it opens up, it looks like a cupboard, right? So it's super cool that they designed with the help of communications, but only because they were in the room with them. And literally, our vendor who helped us with the All-In website got it, and his wife asked, oh my gosh, they must have just made this for you, right? And that's what we want. And that was enough for me, right? Like I was like, yeah, the whole year could go by, and that's all I needed. So stewardship and donor engagement has been a big part of this. We're rolling into events as well. So what's not represented here is that there is an event staff member that's in engagement by design talking about how it is and what it is those people want when they walk through the door and what we want them to feel later, right? So move people to advocacy, ownership with this event. How do we do it, right? And so it's transformed everyone into a fundraiser, which I love.
Yeah.
So
we're all fundraisers. We're all playing a role in each stage of the funnel. We are one question down front, and then we'll wrap.
Thanks for the presentation. How do you incorporate alumni relations and career services into this kind of engagement by design model? Thanks.
Well, I think that we want to bring in our alumni association who handles some of those services to be part of our team. I think that's kind of the next generation of EBD is maybe bringing in some partners outside of our foundation. But I think it makes a lot of sense. Like we are really trying to address donors and give them like a holistic experience and connection point with Kansas State University and build that engagement. That's the next step.
And strategic solicitation has a history with meeting with Alumni Association at least annually. But this year, more than ever, as we sat down for that annual strategy meeting, we said this shouldn't be just once a year. And it shouldn't just be Stratso sitting at the table. And so we have plans now, at least quarterly, we're bringing our alumni partners in to sit and talk about strategy and much like we're doing in the building to say, oh yeah, okay, and now that I know you're doing that, I can do this. We want the same partnership with alumni. There is that disconnect because we don't live in the same building and we don't work for the same organization, but we know we can do better, and it's not going to take a restructure or us absorbing the Alumni Association to do it. We're just going to be intentional about it.
Awesome. We're going to have a couple breaks later on. Everyone at K-State is easy to spot because they wear purple all the time. So please stop, ask questions, network, exchange business cards, and thank you so much, Kansas State University Foundation.